Every single thing your grandmother threw away in 1930 could fit inside a shoebox. Today, you'll toss out more garbage before lunch than she did in a month. And the strange part, the part that should make your skin crawl, is that somewhere between her kitchen and yours, someone convinced you that waste was freedom. Let me tell you about a world you've never seen. 1930, the year after the bottom fell out. Most people think the Great Depression was just about money disappearing, about bread lines and dust bowls and men jumping out of windows on Wall Street. But that's not the whole story. The real story, the one they don't teach you, is about what happened to trash, or rather, what didn't happen to it. Because here's the thing nobody tells you. In the middle of the worst economic collapse in American history, people stopped throwing things away. Not because they were virtuous, not because they loved the earth. They stopped wasting because they had to. And in that desperation, in that forced discipline, they accidentally discovered something that would later be buried so deep you'd need a shovel to find it. They discovered that you could eat everything you bought. Not literally. Stay with me. I'm talking about the concept, the philosophy, the mathematical possibility that every single dollar you spent on food could end up inside your body instead of inside your garbage can. Zero waste. Complete consumption. The idea that nothing, absolutely nothing, should rot in the back of your icebox while your children went to bed hungry. Picture a kitchen in Des Moines, Iowa, 1932. A woman named Dorothy stands at her counter, and she's holding half a potato. It's sprouted, got those weird little eyes growing out of it like some kind of alien vegetable. In your kitchen, right now, that potato would already be in the trash. You wouldn't even think about it. You toss it and grab another one because you've got a whole bag under the sink, and who cares about one potato? Dorothy cares. She takes that potato and she cuts off the eyes. Then she peels what's left. The peelings don't go in the trash, they go in a bowl, because later she'll boil them with onion skins and carrot tops to make soup stock. The potato itself gets diced, small, and goes into a hash that'll feed 4 people. The sprouts, the actual poisonous parts, those go to the chickens out back because chickens can handle a little solanine and they'll turn it into eggs by Thursday. 1 potato. 0 waste. Not because Dorothy read a blog post about sustainability, because throwing away food in 1932 felt like throwing away money, and money was the difference between keeping your house and losing it. You have to understand the mathematics of survival. The average American family in 1930 spent about 30% of their income on food. But here's the dark part. They spent that 30% and they ate 95% of what they bought. Today, you spend about 10% of your income on food and you eat maybe 60% of it. You're richer, you're buying less food relative to your income, and somehow you're wasting more. The numbers don't make sense until you realize that waste isn't a bug in the system. It's a feature, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. First, you need to see where this started. You need to see the world before they taught you how to throw things away. 1935. The Depression is grinding on, and in kitchens across America, women are practicing an art form that would soon be extinct. They're practicing complete utilization. It's not a term they used. They didn't call it anything. It was just how you survived. A chicken shows up at your door. Maybe you raised it. Maybe you bought it from a farmer down the road. Doesn't matter. What matters is what happens next. In your modern kitchen, you'd probably buy chicken breasts. Boneless, skinless, wrapped in plastic, already cut into portions. You'd cook them, eat them, and throw away the packaging. Simple, efficient, wasteful. In Dorothy's kitchen, that chicken is a project that spans 4 days. Day 1, she kills the chicken. The blood doesn't go to waste. Some families saved it for blood sausage. Dorothy doesn't have the stomach for that, so it goes to the garden as fertilizer. The feathers get plucked and saved. Pillow stuffing. Or, if they're the right kind of feathers, they'll be sold to a milliner in town who makes hats. Even feathers had a market price in 1935. The chicken gets butchered. Breasts, thighs, wings. The good meat goes in the icebox for Sunday dinner. But here's where it gets interesting. The back, the neck, the wingtips, all those bony pieces you'd never see in a supermarket, those go straight into a pot, covered with water, simmered for 6 hours. Now you've got stock. Real stock. The kind that gels up in the icebox because it's full of collagen from the bones. Day 2. Sunday dinner. Roasted chicken. The family eats the good meat, but they don't pick the carcass clean. They can't. The human mouth isn't efficient enough. So after dinner, that carcass goes back into the kitchen, and Dorothy picks it over like an archaeologist. Every scrap of meat gets pulled off and saved. Dark meat. Weird bits from around the joints. Meat you'd need a knife to find. It all goes into a bowl. Day 3. Chicken salad sandwiches for lunch, made from the picked-over scraps, mixed with last week's pickle relish and some onions from the cellar. The bread is 3 days old, so she toasts it first to hide the staleness. Day 4. The carcass, now completely stripped, goes back into the stock pot. Second extraction. You simmer it again, and you get a weaker stock, sure, but it's still stock. Still got flavor, still got nutrition. You use it to cook rice or to make gravy. 1 chicken. 4 days of meals. 0 waste. And here's the part that should bother you. Dorothy wasn't special. She wasn't some genius homemaker. She was normal. Every woman on her block did the exact same thing. This was baseline survival. This was the default. So what happened? How did we get from that world to this one, where you throw away 40% of the food you buy? The answer is complicated, but it starts with a simple observation. Waste is expensive for you, but it's profitable for someone else. 1955. The war is over. The Depression is over. America is booming, and something new is happening in kitchens. Something that would change everything. Convenience. It started small. Pre-sliced bread. That was 1928, actually, right before the crash. But it didn't take off until after the war. Then came cake mixes. Then came TV dinners. Then came a whole revolution of food that wasn't just food. It was food plus packaging, plus preservation, plus marketing. And every single one of these innovations had the same business model. Make it easy to buy. Make it easy to use. Make it easy to throw away. The packaging alone tells the story. In 1935, when you bought flour, you bought it in a cotton sack. Not because the flour company loved you, because cotton sacks could be washed and reused as dish towels or pillowcases or diapers. Women demanded it. They wouldn't buy flour that came in paper because paper was waste. The flour companies adapted. They started printing patterns on the cotton sacks, little flowers and stripes, because they knew women were going to turn them into dresses for their daughters. By 1955, flour came in paper sacks. Heavy paper, sure, but still paper. Single use, disposable. And women bought it anyway because the convenience was worth more than the reuse value. That's the shift. That's the moment when convenience became more valuable than thrift. The food industry saw this happening, and they didn't just respond to it, they accelerated it. They had to. Because here's the uncomfortable truth about food companies. They make money when you buy food. They don't make money when you eat food. If you bought 1 chicken and stretched it across 4 days, that's 1 sale. If you bought pre-cut chicken breasts on Monday and threw half of them away on Friday and bought more on Saturday, that's 2 sales. Waste is growth. The industry figured this out faster than you did. By the 1960s, planned obsolescence wasn't just for cars and appliances. It was for food. Not in the sense that food was designed to go bad, although there's an argument to be made about the reduction in shelf life. No, the obsolescence was psychological. They had to make you okay with throwing food away. This took work, decades of work. It required a complete rewiring of American values, because the generation that lived through the Depression, Dorothy's generation, they couldn't be convinced. They'd seen too much. They remembered too much. You couldn't tell a woman who'd survived on potato peel soup that it was okay to throw away leftovers. So the industry waited. They marketed to the next generation, the kids who didn't remember the Depression, the teenagers of the 1950s who grew up with plenty. The message was subtle. It came through television, through magazines, through the shiny new supermarkets that were popping up in every suburb. The message was this: fresh is best. Leftovers are sad. Abundance is success. Throwing things away means you can afford to. They sold you waste as wealth. And it worked. By 1970, the average American family was throwing away twice as much food as their parents had. By 1990, it was 3 times as much. Today, it's 4 times as much. But here's the beautiful trick, the really elegant part of the con. They convinced you it was your fault. All those articles about food waste, they're aimed at you. Your bad planning, your oversized portions, your inability to organize your refrigerator. The industry created a system designed to maximize waste, and then they blamed you for participating in it. Supermarkets are designed to make you waste food. The layout isn't random. Those big carts, they're sized to make you buy more than you need. The produce section at the front, it's there because fresh vegetables make you feel healthy and virtuous. So you load up, even though you both know half of that kale is going to rot. The sell-by dates? Most of them are meaningless. They're not safety dates. They're quality dates. And they're intentionally conservative because when you throw away milk that's still good, you buy more milk. The bulk sizes, the family packs, they're priced to make you think you're saving money, and sometimes you are, but only if you actually eat all of it. Most people don't. Most people buy the giant container of yogurt because it's a better per unit price, and then they eat half and throw away the rest, which means they actually paid more for the yogurt they ate than if they'd bought the small container. Every single element of the modern food system is optimized to increase sales, and the easiest way to increase sales is to increase waste. You're not wasteful because you're careless. You're wasteful because you're swimming in a system designed to make you waste. Now, here's where it gets dark. Here's where the noir part comes in. Because once you see the system, once you understand that waste is profitable, you start to notice it everywhere, not just in food, in everything. Fast fashion, planned obsolescence in electronics, software updates that slow down old phones, cheap furniture designed to fall apart, an entire economy built on the idea that things shouldn't last, that replacement is better than repair, that new is always superior to maintained. It's all the same con. Make it cheap, make it disposable, make it easier to throw away than to keep. And the really insidious part? They've convinced you that this is progress, that this is wealth, that the ability to throw things away is a sign of success. Your grandmother would be horrified. Not just at the waste, at the cost. Because here's what nobody calculates. When you throw away 40% of your food, you're not just losing the money you spent on that food. You're losing the time you spent shopping for it, the effort of carrying it home, the mental energy of deciding what to buy, the refrigerator space it occupied, the guilt you feel when you scrape it into the trash. All of that is waste too. Waste of resources you can't get back. In 1935, time was valuable because it was scarce. Everyone worked, everyone was exhausted, and nobody wanted to spend extra time in the kitchen, but they did, because the alternative was hunger. Today, Time is valuable because we're told it is. We're busy, we're stressed, we're overwhelmed, so we buy convenience. Pre-cut vegetables, pre-marinated meat, meal kits that send you exactly what you need, in exactly the right portions. But here's the paradox. All that convenience doesn't save you time. It just moves the time around. You're not cooking from scratch, fine, but now you're shopping more often because pre-cut vegetables go bad faster. You're throwing away more because portion sizes don't match your actual hunger. You're spending mental energy managing a more complex food system. Dorothy spent more time cooking, but less time managing. She bought a chicken, and she knew exactly what she was going to do with it for the next 4 days. No decisions, no waste, no guilt. You spend less time cooking, but more time thinking about cooking, wondering what's for dinner, Googling recipes, scrolling through delivery apps, standing in front of the refrigerator at 8 p.m. trying to figure out what you can make from the random ingredients that haven't gone bad yet. Which life is actually more convenient? So here's the solution. The thing Dorothy knew that you've forgotten. You have to eat everything you buy. Not literally. You'll still have some waste. Banana peels, chicken bones, things that aren't edible. But the goal, the North Star, is complete utilization. Every dollar you spend on food should turn into energy in your body or someone else's. This requires a complete mental shift. You can't shop the way you shop now. You can't buy what looks good or what's on sale or what you might want to eat someday. You have to shop with a plan. Here's how Dorothy did it. Sunday, she planned the week. Not just meals, ingredients. She'd look at what was already in the house, the half cabbage in the icebox, the dried beans in the pantry, the potatoes in the cellar. And she'd build meals around those things first. Use what you have before you buy more. Then she'd make a list, a real list, based on actual meals she was going to cook on actual days. Chicken on Sunday, chicken stock on Monday, chicken sandwiches on Tuesday. She knew before she left the house exactly what she was buying and exactly why. At the store, she bought only what was on the list. This sounds simple, but it's revolutionary. Because every grocery store is designed to make you impulse buy. The end caps, the displays, the smells from the bakery. All of it is engineered to put things in your cart that weren't on your list. Dorothy didn't have money for impulse buys, so she didn't make them. Back at home, she had a system. Everything had a place. Old food in front, new food in back. Leftovers at eye level so they wouldn't be forgotten. Nothing pushed to the back of the icebox where it would rot. And most importantly, she had a hierarchy. Fresh food got used first. Things that would spoil got priority. If the lettuce was wilting, lunch was salad. If the bread was getting stale, dinner included stuffing. The meal plan was flexible enough to adapt to what needed to be used. This is the opposite of how you cook now. You probably decide what you want to eat and then go buy ingredients for it. Dorothy looked at what she had and then decided what to eat. It's a subtle difference, but it changes everything. Because when you cook from what you have, you can't waste, by definition. If it's in your kitchen, it has to be used. There's no option to throw it away and start fresh. Now, I know what you're thinking. This sounds exhausting. This sounds like it takes all the joy out of eating. This sounds like Depression-era poverty thinking that doesn't apply to modern life. And you're right, it is poverty thinking. But here's the thing about poverty thinking. It works. Not because poverty is good, poverty is terrible, but because poverty forces you to see the world clearly. It strips away all the marketing and the convenience and the illusion. It shows you the actual value of things. In 1935, a chicken had value. Real, tangible value. You could measure it in meals, in nutrition, in the labor it took to raise and butcher. Wasting that chicken meant wasting all of that value. Today, a chicken is cheap, so cheap that its value is invisible. You can buy a whole rotisserie chicken for less than the price of a coffee. That pricing is insane. It only works because the chicken industry has industrialized and optimized and cut corners until they can produce chicken for almost nothing. But that optimization has a cost. It has environmental costs and ethical costs and health costs, and it has a psychological cost, which is that you no longer value the chicken. When something costs nothing, it's worth nothing. And when it's worth nothing, you don't care about wasting it. Dorothy's chicken cost her about 10% of her weekly food budget. Adjusted for inflation, that's like you spending $40 or $50 on a chicken today. At that price, you'd think twice before letting it rot in your refrigerator. So here's the radical thought. The thing that sounds crazy but might not be. What if you started acting like food was expensive again? Not because it is, not because you can't afford to waste it, but because the act of valuing it changes your relationship with it. This is the zero-waste mindset. It's not about being perfect. It's not about never throwing anything away. It's about making waste conscious instead of automatic. Every time you throw away food, you should feel it. Not guilt. That's not useful. But awareness. A recognition that you spent money on something and you didn't use it. A moment of friction that makes you think about why. Over time, that friction changes your behavior. You buy less. You plan more. You get creative with leftovers. You learn to cook the things you already have instead of buying new things. And slowly, without really meaning to, you start eating everything you buy. The math is simple. If you're wasting 40% of your food and you stop, you just gave yourself a 40% raise on your food budget. You can eat better food for the same money, or eat the same food for less money. Either way, you win. But the real win, the thing that would make Dorothy smile, is that you've stopped participating in the con. You've stopped being the kind of person the food industry wants you to be. The person who buys impulsively and wastes casually and comes back for more. You've become the kind of person who sees through the system. And once you see through one system, you start seeing through all of them. The fashion industry that wants you to throw away last season's clothes. The tech industry that wants you to upgrade every year. The entire consumer economy that runs on the idea that nothing should last and everything should be replaced. You start to realize that the richest thing you can do is not buy more. It's use completely. Dorothy knew this. Every woman in 1935 knew this. They lived it every single day. Not because they were better people, not because they were more enlightened, because they had no choice. We have a choice. And most of us choose waste because it's easier, because it's what everyone else does, because the entire system is designed to make waste the path of least resistance. But you can choose differently. You can choose to eat everything you buy, to value what you have, to stop feeding a system that profits from your waste. It won't change the world. Dorothy didn't change the world. She just fed her family and kept her house and survived the worst economic disaster in American history. But maybe that's enough. Maybe survival is the revolution. Maybe the most radical thing you can do in a world designed to make you waste is to refuse. To look at that half potato with the eyes growing out of it and see 4 meals instead of garbage. To take that chicken carcass and simmer it into stock instead of tossing it in the trash. To recognize that everything you bought has value, and that value doesn't disappear just because something is no longer fresh or convenient or pretty. Your grandmother knew this, deep in your bones, and the part of you that still remembers what it felt like to be human before we had supermarkets and smartphones and endless abundance. You know this too. The only question is whether you're willing to remember.